Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have a quant video for you guys today, QNT on the exchange. We will just quickly talk about the most recent update from these guys relating to a patent, particularly from the US, which appears to have passed through and really emphasizes the impact that quant will have moving forwards as an infrastructure, as a technology, and more importantly as a solution to a multitude of sectors, industries around the world. So let's take a look at that. Before we do, just make sure you smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Welcome to the channel. If you are new, welcome back if you've been with us for some time. Guys, let's go straight into this. So this is basically related to a topic called the blockchain communications and ordering. Now, as we know, or maybe you don't know, blockchain is very much about processing, validating in a specific manner, hence the words blockchain coming together. But one of the things that has partially been missing since the dawn of time really with blockchain, potentially, is the ability for that ordering system to work simultaneously or work at least generically with other chains. So obviously a blockchain or a chain in itself, whoever that project or technology is or in charge of that, will have its own system, but when combining the two or multiple chains, potentially the processing and validation aspects aren't quite in order in terms of timestamps or indeed data in general. So what Quant have come up with, and this isn't new by the way, this is very interesting. This actually dates back all the way to 2017. We'll go into the actual documentation shortly, but just have a quick read of this. So the present disclosure provides a computer-implemented method for maintaining a record of an order of transactions appearing on one or more blockchains. The method comprising identifying a plurality of transactions wherein each of the transactions in the plurality of transactions is included on any of the one or more blockchains, and storing a record of the plurality of transactions in a data store wherein the record is indicative of the relative order of the plurality of transactions. So that sounds like a load of gobbledygook pretty much, but in general it's basically, as I've mentioned just a minute ago, the ordering system, but utilizing various blockchains into one and making sure that the data, whether you've done something on this chain but then you started using another chain, for example, to make sure that there's consistency and a narrative, if you like, visually, and when you look into blockchain historically, that continues. But equally, some companies or projects might use a multitude of chains, but in the different things that they do within these chains, whether it's smart contract application or perhaps creating API frameworks, whatever it might be, the timestamps can still simultaneously connect to each other via each chain and still have that categorization of order and time. So that's very important potentially down the line. If we're looking at legal aspects, for example, looking back at historic data and information or data input, etc., is in order, rather than having to go and look at all these different chains, look at the historic information, which to be fair isn't a gigantic job now that we have ability, certainly from the public domain, to be able to enter a lot of these chains and see historic information based on transactional history or indeed smart contract applications. So this is a really big defining moment moving forward. As I said, it's not been something new. It's certainly something that's been portrayed since 2017. We can actually look at this here. This is actually dating back, I believe, certainly this part, 28th of November 2018, but the actual timing of the 2017 element actually does pull itself all the way back to the 1st of December 2017. So you can see some of the other ones they've mentioned here, 28th of November. This very matches around with this. So the application's taken a long time, but this is something that's really concluded and something that's absolutely massive for the integrity of Quant moving forwards and its ability to now go to businesses even more so than ever to say, actually, we've got the definitive solution for interoperability. And that doesn't just mean the use case of a chain working with another chain, but it also now operates the actual framework for historic information and data to be coordinated accordingly as required and needed, potentially by business in the future, as I said, with the legal aspects, but even from a governmental perspective, this is very important also. So it's very interesting to see this development. Obviously, I'm not going to go through every single individual page because most of it is very much diagram driven, but you can see the amount of complexity behind all of this to ensure that all the criterias and all the blockchains have really been tested and focused on to be able to actually integrate the system. And by patenting it, it not necessarily stops other chains from coordinating similar things, but it again puts itself at the forefront of technology and innovation within the blockchain space, and more importantly for DLTs, and certainly in the financial sector of these aspects as well. Of course, it mentions here about XLT transactions. We talked previously, the XMLs. We talked about the integration of ISO 20022 compliance. All of these things will really combine together now as these years go by. What's going to be really interesting is when the RTGS system switches over in 2025, Quant is at a significant pinpoint here of being ahead of the game, the leader of the pack, if you like, and utilizing, of course, its integration of its over-ledger technology and solution as well, coupled with the SaaS platform. This is the services as a solution aspect of it as well, and of course its integration with cloud. You can see the story building here, guys. Very exciting, very interesting indeed from my aspect of seeing this development, and it has taken some time. It's not something to just click your fingers and it works. There's so much that needs to go into doing this, especially with patents, but certainly going through this criteria check and approval process is absolutely massive and significant for the future development and progression of Quant. So as an investor, very exciting indeed. And it's again something just additional to that, that kind of confidence, if you like, of what projects and tokens we should be utilizing. Of course, the QNT Quant token is very much utilized by developers, by companies coming onto the system, having to buy Quant to be able to build on these infrastructures, build the APIs, the frameworks, integrate with the cloud, and the SaaS platforms also. I did do a bit of digging here as well. So as you can see, there's a few names here in terms of inventors. Very interesting backgrounds some of these people have. I recommend going onto LinkedIn just to have a quick check yourselves. But yeah, a load of them being software engineers, working in a multitude of different sectors and things over these years. In that time frame of 2017 to now, you can see all the very interesting things that they've been dealing with. So very clever people behind this, but it's all coming together quite nicely. So keep an eye on this, because it does also link together with some other patents around the world that are involved with Quant also. So this is going to be great to see the development of this, as I said, leading up to that framework switch over in a couple of years' time. But this bit here, Overledger platform allows customers to issue digital money as well as interoperable assets with just a few clicks, move them from one blockchain network to another, write new apps and run on any network, create secure contracts, smart contracts, APIs, etc. But now the ability to order the data, the information, is significant. Absolutely fantastic. So that's very much the main update really from Quant this week. This news article only came out this morning. It's very exciting to read through this. I'm going to have a big, massive load of time this evening to go through all of this in more detail. Probably not every single page because there's a lot of potential repetitiveness in here, but certainly some of the really key criteria. And we'll try and report on that in then maybe a separate video to give a bit more understanding, more so, about the patent itself and what this actually means and what will happen with other chains, with other technologies. Will they consider this trying to catch up or indeed start integrating this thing? Will they have to come to Quant Network to obtain some licensing aspects to be able to use this functionality and technology? Will remain to be seen, but very interesting indeed to see how that comes about, as I said, as time goes by. So, that in mind, let's have a quick look at the price of Quant, because it hasn't really moved significantly or anything really much since that announcement this morning. Maybe it will trickle out news-wise, but in general, of course, we're in the bear market still, the winter market, so I don't anticipate too many exciting things going on at this moment in time. What is definitely something to concentrate on really is this consistency around this $100 price point mark. Now I've got here these short-term validations of fib retracement. We've got some long-term ones and some mid-range ones here. So we can start seeing and really piecing together where these resistance and support lines could arguably fit as the weeks go by. As I said, playing around with this $100 mark was very much sitting around this short-term aspect here, and also identifying that there's a lot of resistance around about this sort of 110, 112 mark, both on the way down back here in the early stage of the year between January and March particularly, but also as you see this downward trend, it pulls itself back up from 100. It has dipped on occasion under that $100 mark, but always kept itself consistent. So from my perspective, this is great DCA opportunity in this area. I've said in a multitude of times in previous videos, I still have buy orders at these lower regions, both at $97, I have some at 84, and I still have, guys, the buy orders down at these lower regions around 64. I don't think I've still got one at around the 40, 50 mark. I have to check, but certainly I've got one at around 64. But we have to see how that plays out over time. But I do still think this is a realistic area to potentially achieve price point wise, especially if we come down to retest the $100 mark again. We do need to tick this area off properly, in my opinion, at this sort of $93, $94 mark. Because if you look back in history, as I mentioned many times, big gap here between obviously the big chase up on 2021, but you can see this fluctuating pattern over a long period of time. And there's just not enough, in my opinion, data to suggest that we've really confirmed this as a definitive support area at $90. So that's why I've still got the 87 marker still in there, but I will still obtain Quant as much as I can when I can. Obviously it's one of the higher priced tokens, but you kind of have the philosophy that if you believe or look at the data and suggest that this is going to be $1,000, $10,000 in the future, whenever that might be, $100 isn't so bad. But of course, we're in a bit of a recession, disposable income issues, etc. We have to adjust that risk management slightly. That's why I believe in the DCA format, to take advantage as and when we can at these various different positions. Obviously, it's not financial advice, I'm just portraying what I do personally in my investment perspectives. But more importantly, because I don't really trade Quant as such until we see really higher numbers, it's definitely an accumulation perspective from me. So at the moment, the 14-day at the bottom here is showing a 58, 28 days showing 53. It's not the end of the world, but it's still quite high in my opinion. I think when it starts to potentially drag itself back down to 105, depending on the announcement take up today, that's when I'd probably see it coming back down to the sort of 45-ish marks, or at least until to the 50 on a 14-day spectrum. But this is what I'm kind of hanging out for, guys, is really just to be patient around this $100 mark with an anticipation that anything in the market could happen at any time that might just drag it down to those lower sub $100 marks again properly, and try and take advantage of that. But I do believe there'll be a lot of resistance because a lot of people will be holding this token at these higher values. They won't want it to drop too far down. But if there's a big catalyst for whatever reason, whether it be quant related or the market in general, these things can happen overnight sometimes. So just keep an eye on it all the time, really, and put those limit orders in. You know, protect yourself from those and be able to have automated orders done on your behalf whilst you're busy working, sleeping, whatever. So they're my thoughts and quick takes on Quant, both as a price point. My thoughts and feelings around that recent patent information is very interesting. It's great progression, and it puts it in good stead for other integrations around the world, whether it be law related or patent related. And certainly I do believe that a lot more chains will wake up to this kind of aspect more and more as time goes by. But that's Quant in a nutshell, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know your comments below on anything we talked about here. Got a few more videos to do for the rest of the day and into this evening to catch up on a few of the assets, and some we haven't spoken about for a while, so keep an eye out for those as well. Hopefully you learn something, even if it's something new or something related to projects that you already have. It's always good to keep the accumulation of knowledge. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next Quant video update. Take care and bye bye.